Mid-1990s, a house deep in blood territory, South Central Los Angeles. 30-plus men, all affiliated, all dangerous, all packed into a single room. And through the front door, with no backup, no SUG, no security, no weapon drawn, walks Tupac Amaru Shakur alone. The room goes dead silent, not because they recognized a celebrity, but because the aura of the man standing in that doorway demanded it. What happened in the next 4 minutes had hardened gang members afraid to make eye contact. Welcome back to the channel. When people talk about Tupac today, they talk about the music. They talk about the poetry, the platinum plaques, the iconic Hollywood movie roles that had him poised to be the biggest star on the planet. But they always forget the fearlessness. They forget the raw, untamed spirit of mid-90s Pac, the Tupac who could walk into any room on earth, any neighborhood, any city, any territory, and command absolute silence without raising his voice. Today, we are breaking down one of the most legendary, most talked about moments in hip-hop history that most documentaries skip entirely. The night Tupac walked into a room full of bloods with absolutely no backup, and what happened next proved why his aura was never manufactured. It was forged in fire. To understand the sheer gravity of this moment, we have to set the scene. Mid-1990s, Los Angeles is a war zone. The streets are carved up by neighborhood affiliations, and stepping into the wrong zip code at the wrong time could cost you your life. It didn't matter who you were. It didn't matter how many platinum records sat on your wall. The concrete follows its own laws, and the concrete does not care about your fame. Now, the story goes, and multiple witnesses from that era have recounted this, that Tupac was invited to a gathering deep in blood-affiliated territory in South Central. It was a house party. Music, alcohol, the usual. But the room was heavy. 30, maybe 40 men, all claiming the same set, all carrying the weight of the streets on their shoulders. Suge Knight was supposed to be there. His entire security detail was supposed to be there. But the night took a turn. Suge got held up. The entourage got delayed. And Pac was left with a choice. Wait outside in the car like a man who needed protection, or walk through that door alone. And here's the part nobody mentions. Tupac wasn't naive. He knew exactly what kind of room he was walking into. He knew the demographics. He knew the risk. He didn't stumble in by accident. He made a conscious, deliberate decision to walk through that door with nothing but his name and his aura. The door opens. The noise inside dies. Not gradually, not politely, but like somebody cut the power. 30-plus heads turn. The music stops. The conversation stops. Every single eye in that room locks onto the man standing in the doorway. Think about the psychology of this exact moment. You are a gang member. You live by a code. You respect power. You respect fearlessness. And standing in front of you is a man who has no weapon drawn, no security behind him, no crew backing him up. Just him, just Tupac. And the energy coming off him is absolute ice. They expected an entertainer. They expected a rapper. They expected the polished celebrity they saw on MTV. But that is not what walked through that door. What walked through that door was a revolutionary, a soldier raised by the Black Panther Party, a man whose mother, Afeni Shakur, stood trial against the United States government and won. You don't inherit fear from a woman like that. You inherit conviction. Tupac steps inside. He doesn't rush. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't scan the room nervously looking for a friendly face. He walks in like he owns the building. And in that fraction of a second, the entire power dynamic of the room shifts. Because when you walk into a room full of dangerous men with zero fear, the danger doesn't disappear. It redirects. Now they're the ones who have to decide how to respond to you. Now the tension is suffocating. You could cut it with a blade. One blood steps forward, not necessarily hostile, but testing. testing the weight of the man who just walked in alone. He says something. The exact words vary depending on who tells the story, but the message is clear. You're in our house. Who sent you? Now, 99% of people in this situation, millionaires, celebrities, people with everything to lose, they backpedal, they apologize, they explain themselves. They beg for permission to be there. Not Machiavelli. Tupac looks the man dead in his eyes. No flinch, no tremble, no shift in posture. And he speaks. The story goes that what he said cut through the room like a blade. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't posture. He simply stated exactly who he was, why he was there, and that he didn't need permission from anyone to stand on his own 2 feet. The room went even quieter. The kind of silence that only happens when a single person has completely consumed all the oxygen in the space. The blood who stepped forward took a half step back, not out of fear, out of respect, because in that world, fearlessness isn't just admired. It's currency. It's the single most valuable trait a man can possess. And Tupac was spending it like a man with an unlimited account. He didn't fight his way into that room. He didn't need to. His aura alone dismantled every threat before it could form. Because these men understood something the mainstream media never could. They weren't dealing with a manufactured studio gangster. They were dealing with a man who lived every single word he ever spoke into a microphone. As Tupac himself said, "I'd rather die like a man than live like a coward." What happened next is what separates Tupac from every other entertainer who ever picked up a microphone. Nobody touched him. Nobody challenged him again. Nobody disrespected him. The room didn't just tolerate his presence, it yielded to it. The Bloods in that room, men who had survived shootouts, prison, and the unforgiving streets of South Central, recognized something in Tupac that the music executives and the media analysts never could. They recognized authenticity, not the kind you manufacture in a recording studio, the kind that is forged in the belly of the struggle, tested by real danger, and proven under real pressure. Tupac spent time in that room. He talked, he listened, he connected with people that the rest of the world had written off. That was the deeper magic of Tupac. He didn't just command rooms with his presence, he united them. He walked out of that house the same way he walked in, unescorted, unharmed, and absolutely unbothered. And according to those who were there, the reaction was the same thing you hear every time someone witnessed Tupac operate in the wild. I ain't ever seen nothing like that. The story of that night spread through South Central like wildfire. It passed from block to block, from party to party, from generation to generation. It became part of the mythology, not because Tupac fought anyone, not because there was violence, but because there wasn't. The most dangerous thing Tupac did that night was show absolutely zero fear in a room where fear was the entire language. This is the moment most documentaries skip because there's no gunshot, there's no arrest, there's no courtroom drama. There's just a man walking into a room where any other celebrity on earth would have been destroyed and walking out a legend. That is the fundamental, undeniable difference between Tupac Amaru Shakur and every single rapper who has ever picked up a microphone since. Most rappers play a character. They act tough in the vocal booth, but they freeze the moment real danger arrives. They hide behind massive security details and heavily tinted windows. Not Pac. Pac lived every single syllable of his lyrics. When the pressure was at its absolute highest, the blood of a Black Panther activated in his veins, and he stood right in the gap. He was the rose that grew from concrete, complete with the sharpest thorns to protect it. Tupac walked into a room where any other man would have died. He didn't survive because he was lucky. He survived because the streets recognized a real one when they saw one. That's why what happened next was insane, because nothing happened. And that was the point. Do you think anyone in hip hop today has that kind of raw, uncompromising aura of mid 90s Pac? Is there anyone breathing right now who genuinely lives the words they speak into the microphone, no matter the cost? Let me know your honest thoughts down in the comments below. If you respect the legacy of the greatest to ever do it, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are keeping his true history alive on this channel. Next video, the night Tupac slapped a death row executive in front of Suge Knight. You don't want to miss it. Until next time, stay strong and always keep your head up.